चलिए ना आता करो झालं असं ना चला
आठवलं तर ते
हो हे कारण चुने नाही केलं सर नाही
छान नाही पाहिलं दिला कधी
काम करते
Hello.
अतुल 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 हॅलो अतुल
हा सर गाणे सर बोला.
हा आवाज येत आहे ना?
हो येतोय सर.
हा ठीक 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 तेच टेस्ट करून ठेवायचं होतं, दुसरं काही. बरं ठीक ठीक.
तनईचा आवाज येत आहे का सर? जोरात येत आहे की हळून येत आहे?
कशाचा?
तनईचा.
नाही आवाजच नाही येत आहे, फारच कमी येत आहे.
हो का?
हा तुझा आवाज ठीक आहे,
हा
सनईचा हे ठीक आहे, थोडा कमी आहे. ठीक आहे
हा
चालेल, काही हरकत
हा
नाही.
ओके ओके. हो हो.
माझा आवाज येत आहे?
हो सर येत आहे. माझा
सर
येत आहे आवाज आपल्याला?
हो हो येत आहे सर, दोघांचा येत आहे.
हा ठीक ठीक ठीक.
हा हा ठीक आहे. 10:30ला स्टार्ट करतो सर.
हा ठीक आहे.
हा हा ठीक आहे.
गेस्ट आर रेडी? गेस्ट जॉईन झाले का? हॅलो.
हा सर बोला सर.
गेस्ट जॉईन झाले?
हो गेस्ट जॉईन झाले सर.
जॉईन करून घ्या.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
हाँ गुड मॉर्निंग टेंडर सर।
प्रणाम प्रणाम। चलिए, आवाज ठीक आ रहा है ना?
हाँ बिल्कुल क्लियर आ रहा है,
जी जी, बढ़िया।
बहुत ही क्लियर आ रहा है।
बहुत बहुत बधाई, शुभकामनाएं।
थैंक यू थैंक यू। झालं तुमचं प्रसार?
हो सर, 9 तारखेला ठेवलं आहे 10:30 वाजता.
Yes, sir.
हाँ 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 एक दिवस अगोदर हाँ. आणि शेवटपर्यंत चालूच ठेवा ग्रुपवर पाठवा. हाँ शॉर्ट मध्ये सांगायचं ते. तुम्हाला एक सोबती घेऊन घ्या शेख सरांना. हाँ डॉक्टर देशमुख सर जॉईन झाले का? हाँ डॉक्टर देशमुख सर.
हो सर, गुड मॉर्निंग.
व्हेरी गुड मॉर्निंग सर, व्हेरी गुड मॉर्निंग सर.
आवाज ठीक आहे ना?
हाँ व्हेरी क्लियर, बिल्कुल क्लियर है. गुड मॉर्निंग सर. रेमले सर गुड मॉर्निंग. देशमुख सर गुड मॉर्निंग.
गुड मॉर्निंग. गुड मॉर्निंग.
Good morning to all the participants and the delegates, honorable principals.
तुम्ही सर एकदा हॅलो करून सरच नाव झाले सर.
Good morning, Deshmukh sir. Now your video is clear.
तुम्हाला पकडायची गरज नाही आवाज ते करून हॅलो डॉक्टर पोपडे सर, सुरू करायचं सर.
अजून 2-3 मिनिटं
सर आवाज हॅलो डॉक्टर बोंबले सर गुड मॉर्निंग सर तुम्ही बोला जस्ट टू स्पीक
Okay, now start. Start.
पुढे सर स्टार्ट करायचं का?
Yes. Now you can start. Okay, start.
पुढे सर स्टार्ट करायचं का?
Yes. Start the program. From your side, mute the microphones of all the participants. Dr. Thauri, mute all the participants' mic first.
Good morning all. I welcome you all on behalf of Department of Physics, NS College Bramhapuri on National Webinar on Solar Technology. As we know, solar energy, a clean source, no greenhouse gas emission are released into the atmosphere when you use solar panels to create electricity. And because the sun provides more energy than we shall ever need, electricity from solar power is a very important energy source for clean energy production. Our webinar is focusing on solar energy related topics of high relevance in science, technology development, social issues, training and education. Our webinar offers something for everyone. Now, I am inviting Professor R.S. Mesra, HOD, Department of Physics, for introductory remarks.
Very good morning and welcome to all. Very good morning and welcome to all. Respected all professor, research scholar and students. You are cordially invited for one-day national level webinar on solar technology organized by Department of Physics, Neuzabai Hitkandi College, Bramhapuri. On behalf of the college, I, Ratan Beshram, Head, Department of Physics, hearty welcome you all in today's webinar, which is focusing on solar energy related topics of high relevance in science, technology, development, social issues, training, and education. Our webinar offers something for everyone. I again hearty welcome and congratulations you all participants, research scholars and students from various colleges and universities of the states in solar technology webinar. On behalf of Neuzabai Kitkarni College, Bramhapuri, I hearty welcome to Honorable Sri Ashok Jibhaiya, Secretary, Neuzabai Hitkarni Education Society, Brahmapuri. I hearty welcome to Honorable President of Neuzabai Hitkarni Education Society, Brahmapuri. I would like to hearty welcome to Honorable Dr. Abhay Deshmukh, keynote speaker, Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Rashtrasant Tukuji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur. The second well-known speaker, I welcome to respected Sri Praful D. Tempre, second keynote speaker and director, Agri in Allied Service Private Limited, Nagpur. I would like to welcome Honorable Dr. N.S. Kupade, Principal, Neuzabai Hitkarni College, Brahmapuri, also organizer of the 2 days webinar. I would like hearty welcome to Honorable Dr. D.S. Ghati, Chairman of today's webinar. Also, I mostly welcome to my faculty members, Mr. D.M. Parsuramkar, Dr. A. Nerthude, co-convener of today's webinar. Thank you, sir, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ram, sir. Now I am requesting. Thank you, Mr. Ram, sir. Now I am requesting our honorable principal, Dr. N.S. Kokode, sir, to inaugurate this national webinar on solar technology.
Good morning to everybody. At the outset, I welcome all the experts, particularly Dr. Abhay Deshmukh, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur, and Sri Prafulla Dhanpalji Tembre, who is the Director of Agri Allied Service Private Limited, Nagpur. To the outset, I will introduce my institution, who is holding this national webinar on the solar technology. Once again, I welcome all the honorable guests and the participants, delegates and dignitaries who joined this webinar. This Neuzabai Hitkarni College, Brahmapuri, which was established in 1962 under the blessings of then first president, Rashtrasanta Tukuji Maharaj, was the first president of this education society. And this college was opened because of the dedications and a wholehearted assistance by late Madan Gopalji Bhaiya. Today I welcome the president of this NH Education Society, Srimati Snehalata Bhai Bhaiya, the honorable secretary of this education society, Honorable Sri Ashok Ji Bhaiya, and all the office bearers of the education society. Today's guest, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh, Dr. Prafulla Ji Tembre, all the principals joined to this, the faculty members, the delegates from different parts of the country, and fellow my students. This college was opened in 1962 and the science faculty in 1971. So this college has more than 60 years of standing, and it is the biggest college in Eastern Vidarbha. We are imparting the education to around 5,000 students in tribal and backward area, and having all UG, PG, research center in 10 subjects, and particularly we are also having the research center in subject physics. So many students have been awarded PhD degree in physics from this research center, and many students they are working for their PhD in this department. From 2002, we are running the MSc Physics course, and around 1,600 students, 1600 students, they are taking the education of physics from Department of Physics of our college. This subject, the physics, has played a very vital role in the development of this college, which is having the very fast infrastructure. We are having the 44 acres of the infrastructure, the 9 to 10 buildings, having boys hostel, girls hostels, and also the institution is having the 100 acres of the agricultural land. So let Madan Gopal Ji Bhaiya has donated around 150 acres of the land to this education society, and the green campus is the eco-friendly campus of our college. Very eco-friendly atmosphere attract the students. It is proud feeling for me to introduce that the students from Nagpur district, Bhandara district, Gondia district, Gadchiroli district, and Chandrapur districts, they are taking the education from this college from 70 years, and therefore this college is flourished like anything. Up till now, the college has held so many national seminars, conferences, workshops, and always in limelight of the academic atmosphere in the campus. Today, here the national webinar on the epic of this COVID-19 epidemic situation, we are utilizing our time, the spare time rather you can say, for the knowledge and application of the latest technology for the development of the mankind. And also we are imparting the education to our fellow students, the technology which is coming up, sun being the very peak form of the energy, the main source of the energy, enormous amount of the energy is with the sun, and therefore how we tap the solar energy into the electricity and which will be used for the betterment of the mankind. Now today the devices are developed, they are also at the economic good level, and common person can utilize now the solar energy for various applications. We are observing that in India, the Tamil Nadu is the first state who is utilizing the solar energy much more in India, and it is made very compulsory from the local administration to use the solar energy, the alternative energy source, which is the sustainable. It is having the tremendous potential to give you the energy for the development, and therefore this is the technology which is sustainable, and we have to use for long time to convert the solar energy into the electrical energy and for the betterment of the mankind. Today, this national webinar, I hope it will be certainly useful to have the solar energy for the betterment of our technology, our science, our society, our nation, and for the betterment of the mankind. I am very hopeful that today we are having the very eminent resource persons, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh from Nagpur University, who has spent a lot of time in the research of the solar energy, and he is a fellow gentleman that we will throw the light how the solar energy technology is useful, how it should be converted, how the cost will go down, and it will be popular among the society. Dr. This Praful Temere is another resource person who is practically which is implementing the solar technology for the betterment of the society. He has installed so many power plants, so many stations around in Vidarbha region, and this is actually the practical, that is the cases that he has handled so far. In our college also, we have installed the 2 solar plants, particularly the 30 megawatt, that is a solar power plant, and another is of 32 megawatt solar power plant. And now the need of the electricity, the load on the NSAB can be reduced, and the easily available energy can be utilized for the mankind purpose. So this is challenging, that is the area where the scientists, the physicists, the technologies will concentrate, and in future the energy problem will be easily solved. So I think this webinar is of national use, and it is of very important for the development point of view. Once again, I welcome you all, and at the last, I declare that this webinar is open. All the best to the organizers, our team, led by Professor R.S. Meshram, the Parshuramkar, Yerude, Dr. D.S. Ghane being the chairman of this, Professor Aslam Sheikh, the NAC coordinator, all the senior faculty members, Professor Thauri, the technical chairman, and all other our faculty members who directly assisted for the success of this webinar. All the best, and thank you very much. Over to Sri Parshuramkar.
Thanks a lot, respected Kokode sir, for inaugurating our webinar on solar technology. Now, I am inviting Dr. Atul Yerkude to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh from Department of Physics, RTM, Nagpur University, Nagpur.
It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Abhay Deshmukh sir. Dr. Abhay Deshmukh sir is presently working as an assistant professor in Department of Physics and Director of Incubation Center, RTM Nagpur University, Nagpur, India. Sir obtained his PhD degree in 2011 from Nagpur University. During his research career, he is involved in the synthesis and characterization of micro and nanophosphors, work on carbon nanomaterials, quantum dots, and inorganic nanomaterials for various applications. Also, the development of lithium-ion battery and new energy materials for solar cell. He has published number of research papers in international and national reviewed journals. 2 patents were published and 1 patent is filed. He received CSR Fellowship, National Science Council, Postdoctoral Fellowship of National Taiwan University, Taiwan, and Dr. D.S. Kothari Postdoctoral Fellowship. He has successfully guided 1 student for PhD degree, 2 students submitted PhD thesis, and 3 students are currently registered for PhD degree with him. He has successfully completed 2 research projects of total amount 34 lakh rupees of Naval Research Board, DRDO, and University Project Scheme, and 2 ongoing projects of total amount 35 lakh rupees of DST Nano Mission. To his credit, he is co-author of 1 book which is of international level published by Material Research Forum, USA. With a great pleasure, I request Dr. Abhay Deshmukh sir to enlighten us with his talk.
Thank you, Atul, for your nice introduction. And, good morning, everyone. I hope I am audible to everyone. So, respected Dr. N.S. Kokde sir, Principal in NH College, Brahmapuri. Then Ashok Bhayaji, Secretary of NBHES, Brahmapuri. R.S. Meshram, and convener of this national webinar on solar technology. Dr. D.M. Parshuramkar and Dr. A.N. Yerkude, convener of this webinar. All the faculty members and my dear participants. Good morning to everyone. Uh, so I hope this screen is visible to everyone. I hope, Atul, can you confirm it that the screen is shared with all the people?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. So basically, today's national webinar is on the solar technology. And obviously, if you talk about the technology, first we have to go through the fundamentals, properties, and application of all the technologies associated with solar things. So in this session, we have two sessions. First is on the fundamental properties of your solar cells, solar technology, their properties and the application. And another session will be taken by the Tembare sir, which will be on the application part, as he is having a good experience in applying the solar cell technologies on the rooftop models and other kind of things. So he will be taking care of the application part, and I'll try to explain you the things associated with the fundamental properties of your solar cells. So basically, I'm looking over the lab, which is Energy Material and Devices Laboratory in a department of physics, where I joined in 2013. And besides this, I am having one more charge, that is the Director of Incubation Center, which is newly established in a RTM Nagpur University. So, inspiration to me, as I had joined my career in 2006 as a PhD student, and after that I have completed my PhD and then postdoc and other kind of things. I hope this person you must be knowing is Professor Goodenough. He just got a Nobel Prize in chemistry for inventing the battery. The small thing which you see in his hand is a lithium-ion battery. He's the inventor of that. He's at this stage is 97 years old, and still he's working. And at the 96-year-old, he given a second breakthrough in a battery technology, and for which after 40 years he got the Nobel Prize in a lithium-ion battery for this. So looking at his, and fortunately I have in collaboration with him, because I am also working in a lithium-ion battery and the supercapacitors things besides the solar cell technologies. So I have been associated with him to work for a few tasks. So at this age also he is very active and very prominent to his work. So I feel he is a good inspiration for us, and he's having a BS in mechanical engineering, then PhD in physics, and working in a chemistry, and got a Nobel Prize in chemistry. So it doesn't matter what background you have. So at any time, if you feel that you have to work on any kind of technologies, you can switch over your research area in that particular things. So he will be more inspirational to you. You can search Google and you can go through his profile, and he is very dominant to then as I told that we have participants like students, BSc student, MSc student, faculties, and the other researchers in this webinar. So I just want to give you a small introduction about our India, how much R&D institutions we have. So we have around 6862 total institutions in R&D institutions in India. So out of which we have a private industry, that is 4328, state sectors 1050, then the central sector 610, university 699, and public sector 175. And if you see the distribution of R&D institutions by a state, so we have Maharashtra having a higher percentage, that is 20.3% in Maharashtra itself. So we have a lot more opportunities to work in R&D sectors, and probably even I was not knowing this particular things also, that we have this much amount of institutions in India. So if you want to go through all the institutions which are in India, which are working in a particular sector, so you can go on a DST website. They have this whole directory on this, which will help you, all the students. And if you want to make your career in any particular sector, so you just go through this directory and you can search out the which institution is working on which area. So that will be more useful to you guys. This is a bit about my journey. I just started from Nagpur itself. I completed my PhD from Nagpur, that is from Nagpur University as well as NEERI. I was having one guide from NEERI and one guide from Nagpur University. And after completing my PhD, I just moved to IIT Madras at the corner end of India. Then from there, I moved to a CSIR, National Physical Laboratory, which is a CSIR laboratory and well known for the standard laboratory. And then I moved to ISC Bangalore and then Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, and then National Taiwan Normal University, Taiwan. And Taiwan is well known for semiconductor industry. And then again come back to India. That is again in Nagpur, and I joined the Nagpur University. So almost I roam around the India, left, right, up and down side, as well as outside, and then I come back to India. So that experience has been a very good experience to understand the infrastructure as well as the people who are working in a different organization or different sectors. So because of that, I got a good opportunity to understand the principles of different sectors, and that helped me to basically apply that particular things into any technology kind of things. Then obviously solar energy, and we all know that the only kind of energy which we have, ultimate renewable energy source, is a solar, that is the sun. And because till the sun will be there, we will be there. And there is all kind of spectrums which are available in a solar sun, that is right from your visible light, infrared, ultraviolet, x-rays, radio waves. So you can use any of this electromagnetic spectrum for your application. So that is a major benefit of your solar energy, that is your sun. And obviously this energy consists of a radiant light and heat energy. So you can use either a radiant energy as well as the heat energy to apply for your technology. And out of all energy emitted by the sun, only small fraction of energy absorbed by the earth, and other are getting reflected or transmitted, or in other way around we lost that energy. But still that fraction of amount of energy is still a huge, which can give us better technology for your future use in a renewable energy source. And if you try to break down your incoming energy, solar energy, so we can see that all energy what you are getting at the earth is around 174 petawatt. So that is 10 raised to power 15 watts, which is very huge. And out of which only 89 petawatt absorbed by the land and the oceans, and other are reflected in atmosphere, reflected by clouds, reflected by earth surface, radiated from sun, space, from atmosphere, and radiation absorbed by the atmosphere, latent heat vapor, and conduction in a rising air. And if you see the breakdown of your solar energy spectrum, so what we have is 5% is our ultraviolet energy, that is your 300 to 400 nanometer range, which is high energy. Then you have 43% of visible light, that is 400 to 700 nanometer, and you have 52% of near infrared energy, that is 700 to 2500 nanometer. So if you try to use whole spectrum, solar spectrum, so obviously the amount of energy which will be converting it to the useful amount, that will be a very huge. And if you again break down from 300 to 1100, which is basically a bandgap of your silicon solar cell, so we can have around your 18.4% over here, 19.9% in a 500 to 600 range, 18% in 600 to 700 range, and other way around, right? So why this breakdown is important? Because it depends on your bandgap of your material, how much amount of energy you can absorb. So depending on this particular breakdown of your energy, you can modulate your device, and you can play with around. Then we have a solar radiation spectrum again here. That is your from this is your UV, this is your visible, and this is from your infrared. And this is your black body radiation, black body spectrum, which consisting of your right from 250 to 2500 nanometer, right? And specifically, we use the 2-3 terms in whenever you are characterizing your solar cells. That is your AM standard, AM0 standard, AM1.5 standard, and AM1 standard, and all about. So AM is stand for your air mass coefficient, and AM0 is the spectrum was measured with air between the sun and the receiver. That is at the top of the atmosphere. AM1 is the spectrum after traveling through the atmosphere to the sea level with a sun directly over it to a 0%. That means AM1 and AM1.1 will be useful for us. Okay, so these terms will be using further, so that will be helpful for you. So electric generation from a solar energy. Basically, solar energy can be used to generate your electricity in a 2 ways. One is your solar thermal energy, and another is a solar photovoltaic energy. So solar thermal energy technology is used for your heating the fluids, which can be used as a heat source to run your turbines to generate the electricity. Or what specifically what we are using it day-to-day life is your solar water heaters, right? And solar photovoltaic energy is your solar energy for direct generation of electricity using a photovoltaic phenomena. So these two technologies we have to deal with your total solar energy, and we'll be focusing more on the solar photovoltaic energy instead of a solar thermal energy in this particular session. So the brief about your solar power utilization, as I said, you have a solar thermal as well as the photovoltaic. So in a solar thermal, you have a low temperature range, that is your solar water heating, then solar chimneys, then solar point, then solar street lights, and other way around. And high temperature ways, you have a parabolic dish and central towers. So you can have a solar farms and other way things to deal with your thermal energies. And in photovoltaic technologies, you have a monocrystalline silicon, polycrystalline silicon, amorphous silicon, and for production process, you have a 2 ways, that is wafer and the thin film. So we'll be discussing on your these 3 technologies, that is only on a silicon technologies, and then the wafer and thin film technologies a bit all. So specifically, you have to deal with the band gap of a material to harness your solar energy, which is incoming to the earth. So we all know that we have 3 kind of material, that is your conductor, semiconductor, and the insulator. And obviously, all 3 are important when you are talking about the application of any kind of technologies or any kind of material, right? So conductor is specifically have a partially filled conduction band and valence band, and the insulator we have a empty conduction band and a filled valence band, right? And semiconductor basically are more interested because of their conductivity, which can be radially modulated by impurity doping, right? And which offers you a pathway to control the electronic circuit. So even if you if you take an example of silicon, and if you dope the boron or phosphorus, so you can tune this band gap of silicon, and you can play with the semiconductor properties of your silicon, right? So that's why we are more interested in the semiconductor technology for specifically for the solar photovoltaics. And obviously conductor will be required because semiconductor cannot allow to flow the electrons. So obviously as a contact, so will be required the conductors, right? So these 2 things we will be playing around. Then what are the elements, or what are the semiconductors specifically used for the solar cell? So basically we play with a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th row elements, and that too with a silicon and germanium are mostly used. And in silicon, basically we do a boron or a phosphorus, right? And then we have another kind of thing like GAS, gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, cadmium telluride, or INGAS, HGCDDA, or CIS, or CIGS, or other kind of things. So people are trying with every kind of material possibilities which can modulate the band gap of your semiconductor, and you can harness the maximum amount of energy which is coming to the earth. And the well-established technology is silicon as well as the germanium solar cells. So mostly we will be talking about the silicon. So why specifically we are more interested in a silicon, right? So silicon is specifically have a 4 outer electrons that forms a stable crystal structure when bounded, So obviously we required a very strong structure which is stable at high temperature also. Okay. So that's why we use the silicon. And as we know that if you dope the silicon with a different kind of materials, that is a first row element or a second row element, so you can tune the band gap of semiconductor. Like if you take a boron, so boron will obviously give you a different band gap, and phosphorus will give you a different band gaps, right? So if you dope the boron, which have a 3 outer electrons, and when we mix with the silicon, it creates the hole in the structures. And if you dope a phosphorus, which have a 5 outer electrons, so obviously when you dope the phosphorus in a silicon, so you'll be having a one free electron which will roam around. So if you take a boron dope silicon, which we call it as a p-type silicon, and if you dope a phosphorus, we call it as a n-type silicon. And if you combine these two materials together, what we take is a p-n junction diode, right, which is responsible for your generating the electrons and holes. Then brief history about your solar photovoltaics. So in 1976, Adams discovered the selenium which produces the electricity when exposed to sunlight. So at the 1876, we have seen this first effect by the atoms. Then in 1883, Charles Ritz designed the first photovoltaic cells. So if you take from 1883 to 2020, it's almost 1 decade, right? And then Albert Einstein discovered the electrons can be liberated from the metal by exposure of the sun, right? And then Joystick Groups has first discovered the single crystal silicon. And 51st photovoltaic cell is created by the Bell Laboratory. So if you see this 1876 to 1954, almost 80 years we required to come to any kind of technologies which is required to come from fundamental things to a application part of things. So from 1954, we are still struggling to get the high efficiency solar cell which can be converting 100% of energy to a electrical energy, right? And then there are some other histories which has been developed afterwards. And then so basically what we required is a photovoltaic cell. And what is photovoltaic cell is basically a p-n junction diode which directly converts your solar energy into a electrical energy. So typically a silicon photovoltaic cell is composed of a thin wafer which consisting of your phosphorus dope n-type, which is basically a emitter, and which is on the top of your silicon cell, and you have a thick layer of your p-type dope silicon, which is on the base side. Okay, and when sunlight strike on this solar cell or this photovoltaic cell, photons with a energy which is above the semiconductor band gap impart enough energy to create your hole and electron and hole pairs. So that is basically a basic phenomenon which is required to convert your solar energy into a electrical energy, right? And the objective is first basically the your material solar radiation. So obviously depending on the your band gap of your material. Second is generation of your free carrier charges, and third is transport or collect them at the terminal of your photovoltaic. This is your basically a photovoltaic cell, and this is your basic structure of your solar cell. As we have seen over here, you have a back contacts, that is your metal. Then you have a p-type semiconductor, then n-type semiconductor, that is your n layer, and which forms your p-n junction. And then you have a front contacts, specifically use the aluminum for that. And then you have anti-reflection coating, then transparent adhesive, and then your cover glass, right? So obviously these two will form your p-n junction, and sunlight will create your electron and hole pairs. And if you attach any load to a circuit, it will generate your light. Okay, so we'll be again discussing details about this. Then your hierarchy of PV. There are three terms which specifically we used in whenever we are talking about the solar photovoltaics technologies. First is a cell which you make mostly by 6" by 6" cell, which generates your 0.5 volt and current about 5 to 6 ampere. And this 6" by 6" cell can give you a 2 to 3 watt power. And then if you join all the cells together, so you will be having the models. So if you have a 6 by 9 6 cells by 9 cells, so total you have a 54 cells which can give you a 20 volt to 30 volt, and which can give you a current of 5 to 6 ampere again, and output power is 100 to 200 watt. And this total size will be around 1 meter by 1 meter. Okay. And then if you combine all the modules together, which will we called it as a array. So specifically, you cannot have a very bigger size cell design of very bigger size cell. So what you required is you should design the one cell which having limitations on that particular site, and then you combine all these cells together to form your modules, and these modules can be again parallelly or serially connected to each other depending on your application. Either you need a higher voltage or a higher current, and we called it as a arrays. Again, you can illustrate this in this way also. So this is solar cell, and these are the basically your contacts which required to your collecting the current. Okay, and this is module, and this is PV panel, and this is your array. Okay, so either you can combine it with a parallel connection or a series connection depending on your requirement of your things. Then what you have is materials for your solar cells. So as I said, because we can use the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth row elements to form your any kind of material which can modify the band gap of your semiconductor material, and which can basically absorb the maximum amount of energy or maximum amount of incoming radiations. So basically, there is on the topmost we have a crystalline silicon, and then cadmium telluride, then copper indium diselenide, then gallium arsenide, indium phosphide, and zinc phosphide. These are the materials which has proven the technological wise good efficiencies. So that's why these are on the topmost priorities of the material. And even in crystalline silicon, we have three types of things. One is crystalline silicon, monocrystalline silicon, single crystalline silicon, polycrystalline silicon, and even we can go for a amorphous silicon also. What technology options we have for a solar power? So as I said, you have a wafer based technology or a thin film based technology. So if you have a wafer based technology, we can talk about the crystalline silicon. In that also we have a monocrystalline silicon and polycrystalline silicon, and then we have a spheric silicon. And in thin film we have a CIGS, CDTS, proto-nanocrystalline, and amorphous silicon. And on this side, you have if you are working in organic materials, so we have a dye-sensitized solar cell, organic thin film solar cell as well. Okay, and on novel technology, we have HIT and tandem cells. And recently, we are more focusing on the perovskite solar cell, which people are feels that which can have a equivalent efficiency as much as the crystalline silicon. But obviously, we have a perovskite structure, that is the AbO3 structure, which is quite unstable in a atmosphere. So still, it will take a time to come to a market. So what is the technology difference? So basically, we have four types of things which can modify your technology. One is the optical properties, electrical properties, manufacturing process, and the performance. So if you talk about the optical properties, you have to talk about the band gap. Either it is a direct band gap or a indirect band gap, and then absorption coefficient, absorption length. Then if you talk about the electrical properties, if you change the band gap, absorption coefficient, and absorption length, obviously your carrier lifetime, mobility, and diffusion length will change. So obviously optical properties, if you will be changing with a material, so accordingly your electrical properties will be changing. Then obviously we need to talk about the manufacturing process also. So absorber of material, cells, and modules, and then performance, efficiency, current, voltage, fill factor, and effect of temperature and radiations, right? So all these things we will be taking examples with this so that people can understand better. So if you talk about the band gap, we'll go with one by one. So if you talk about the band gap, crystalline silicon is having 1.12 electron volt. And if you talk about the CIGS, it is having a 1.1 electron volt, and CDT 1.42, GAS is 1.45, and amorphous silicon is 1.7 electron volt, right? So as I said, if you try to change the material, so obviously your optical properties can change. So if you just go on changing the material, that will change your band gap. But obviously all materials cannot be useful for your solar applications. We need to see whether whichever material we will be synthesizing, that will be applicable to solar applications or not. Secondly, material absorption length. So if you talk about the crystalline silicon, so at 400 nanometer, that is your 3.1 electron volt, you have a 0.15 microns absorption length. At 600, you have 1.8 microns. At 800, you have a 9.3 micron. At 1000, you have a 180.9 microns. So that means whatever thickness of solar cell you have. So even if you make a solar cells with a thickness of your greater than 180 microns, that will not be useful because you do not have absorption length for your crystalline silicons greater than your 180.9 microns, right? Similarly, for amorphous silicon, you have a 400.05, and for 600, you have a 0.14. And for CIGS, you have a at 800 and 1000, you do not have any kind of absorptions in a amorphous silicon. So obviously, till 600, you will be utilizing your solar radiation, and above 600, you cannot utilize the solar radiations for your amorphous silicon. So even if you go from crystalline silicon to amorphous silicons, though you have a manufacturing process is more simpler or synthesis process is more simpler, but you cannot use it for a application part because you cannot utilize the greater than your 600 nanometer position, right? In CIGS, you have absorption again in all the spectrum, but again the absorption length is very small. And gallium arsenide, again you have absorption till 800, and above 800 you do not have any absorptions in a gallium arsenide. So obviously when you are talking about the material part, so you need to talk about this absorption lengths also, and this absorption length will let us know that how much thickness of your solar cell will be, right? So now, till now we have gone through a 3 generation of solar cell. That is your first generation, which consisting of your quality and a single junction solar cell, which we more talk about the silicon. And we were only making the high quality silicon as well as the single junction solar cells. Okay, and we have almost invested our time in basically synthesizing the monocrystalline silicon, polycrystalline silicon, and manufacturing process of this silicon, and making the first device with a usable form. Okay, and in second generation, basically we are more focused on the energy requirements and the production cost of a solar cell. As we know that whenever we talk any kind of application part, first of all we need to talk about the production cost as well as the final cost of your technology. As you if you talk about the solar cell or solar technology or photovoltaic technology 10 years before, so obviously the cost of technology was very high. But at this stage, you would have seen most of the roof has been installed the solar water heaters and other solar technologies for your home applications, right? So in a second generation, we mostly focused on the production cost of your solar cell. And then we again, because it's our inherent nature that we need to think about the another kind of materials. So we again invested our time in alternating manufacturing techniques as well as the other kind of technology or other kind of material which will be useful for your solar cell technologies. Okay, and then on third generation, basically we were more focused on the electrical performance of the solar cell. So firstly, on a first and second generation, we were more focused on tuning the band gap and then production of silicon, and then production cost of your solar cell or for solar cell technology and other kind of things. And as you develop a good device, then we came to know that your electrical performance is again a very important parameter. So on third generation, we were more focused on the electrical performance of your second generation cell, that is your thin film technology, then by basically maintaining your production cost. And now current research is targeting conversion efficiency which can reach up to 30 to 60%. As I said, we still are lacking the higher efficiency cell because we cannot convert the 100% solar energy into electrical energy. So what we reach is around 30 to 47% for now. So our target for this generation is to reach the highest efficiency till 60% by obviously retaining the low cost material as well as the manufacturing technique. Okay, and again we need to have efficiency with a Bunsen eliminated around 31% and 40.8% under the maximum artificial concentration of the sunlight. Okay, so we are playing with a material, we are playing with electrical properties, we are playing with a manufacturing process, and accordingly we are trying to get the highest efficiency as well as the applicability of your solar cells, right? And now, as I said, we'll be discussing more on the crystalline silicon kind of things, because as you know, silicon is abundant in the nature, and we are well established with crystalline silicon technologies. So our manufacturing process is almost steady, and then what we are doing is only to play with the silicon solar cells, right? And this monocrystalline silicons, that is your single crystalline silicons, which give you available module efficiency is 14 to 17%. Even though your cell efficiency is 30%, but when you combine all these cells together to form your modules and the array, at that time your efficiency will go decrease, and what we have available is your 14 to 17% at the market. Okay, and it is most expensive to produce for now still. And we have a circular or square round cell which creates a vested space on a model, which you see over here. So what we produce is this kind of cell which are vesting your basically this portion. So even if your small amount of portion is getting vested, that will create a huge difference, and accordingly your output will be very small. Okay, and then you have a polycrystalline silicon, and on this it is comparatively less expensive, because all of you know that if you go for a single crystal techniques, that is more costly, and if you talk about polycrystalline silicon, the manufacturing process is quite low, and this cell have a less efficient than your monocrystalline silicon. What's efficiency you'll be getting is 10 to 12%. But if you compare with the manufacturing process cost and the efficiency cost, then obviously manufacturing process cost is less. So it depends on us that which technology we are more interested in. And then this can be produced in a square shaped cell, which fit into a model efficiently using the entire space. Now, if you see, you do not have any spaces in a polycrystalline space. Okay, so that will give me an entire model consisting of your solar cell. So I can utilize each and every portion of your model to convert your solar energy into a electrical energy. Then you have aluminum electrode, that is your silver colored wire on the top of the solar cell. And now if you see this aluminum electrode, you have a very small line of your electrode, because what you need to have is, because as I said, a semiconductor cannot flow the electrons, so obviously you need to have a current collector to have a getting the electrons into it, right? So obviously I need to have a contacts on the top of the solar cell. So I have an array of your all aluminum electrode, and this is a very small wire, because if you have this amount of wire or the higher surface wire, so obviously that will again shade the photovoltaic cell, right? So that will again reduce your performance of this. And then you have anti-reflection film, that is your blue color film on this, and then your back surface is p-type, and all back surfaces aluminum electrode, the full reflections. And now if you compare your model, that is a single crystal model with a polycrystalline silicon. So if you take 2.6 feet and 2.6 feet of your polycrystalline single crystalline, so what you get is 120 watt, and here you get a 128 watt, and here you get a 120 watt. So obviously this is a small model which is having a 2.6 feet. But if you talk about the array, so this performance will be give you a very huge difference. So obviously then we need to go for a monocrystalline silicon rather than even polycrystalline silicon. Now it depends on what application or where we want to install this models. Okay, and then if you compare the efficiencies as well as the warranty of your silicon. So if you take a thin film cadmium telluride, you have panel efficiency of 10.42%, and you have temperature on 45 degrees ±2. You can play around. Then warranty degradation is 0.53%, and panel warranty is 5 years. And if you talk about the polycrystalline silicon, your warranty is 10 years, and a panel efficiency is around 15%. And then you talk about the monocrystalline silicon front contacts, you have a 15.54 efficiency with a 10 years panel warranty. And monocrystalline silicon with a black contacts, you have a 20.4% efficiency with a 25 years of panel warranty. So obviously, when you talk about the panel warranty, so your monocrystalline silicon black contacts will be more higher, because if you once install your panel, so you want that this should go for at least 20 to 25 years. And if you this panel is giving a 5 years warranty, so obviously after 5 years you have to change your panel and you have to replace the panel with a new one, right? And that will create a mess for us, right? So, and these are some thin film solar cell technologies, that is CDT, and this is a structure of that you have a CIGS absorber, then back contacts are molybdenum, then you have glass substrate, and then CDS, ZNOL, and other kind of things. And this is your CIGS solar cell structure, and this is amorphous silicon solar cell. This is your single junction cell. Then you have a double junction cell, triple junction cell, and you can stack four. We have reached to 4 junction cells till now. Okay, and as I said, we are more interested in a perovskite solar cells also. So basically, we what we use is the perovskite structure, that is your ABO3 structure, that is your CST and STPBI3. Okay, which is having a laid into. And then even CDT, we have reached up to a 30% efficiency with a multi-junction solar cell. Okay, and the pros and cons of your technology. So basically, for monocrystalline silicon, polycrystalline silicon, and we have a high efficiencies and high efficiency with a respect to price for your polycrystalline silicon. And cons are increased manufacturing cost caused by the supply of shortage silicon. Even we need to think about the from where we are getting a raw material. So even if you have a raw material is very costly and shortage of your raw materials, obviously the manufacturing cost will be more. So we need to have industries which can produce the silicon which will be required for the industrial grade of silicon technologies also, right? And then thin film type, we have a low price in amorphous silicon, but again we have a low efficiency for that, right? Then CIGS and CDT, again we have a low price and able to automate all the manufacturing process in a CDT and CIGS cells, but again we have a low efficiency, and even if it is same for the polymer and organic cells. And this is a graph for your all the cells which are available in a lab as well as the market, and these are the efficiencies which we have been achieved till 2020 up to today. Okay, so highest efficiency what we have achieved is 47.1, which is developed by the NREL, okay, which is having a 4 junction or more cells on a concentrator side. And for 4 junction non-concentrator, we reach only a 39.2 things. And on this left hand side, you can see the different kind of cells which have a different kind of synergy. So this is freely available on your NREL website, and there are very few good materials on NREL website which can you can utilize for your initial knowledge. Okay, and this NREL is always updating their this graph specifically if someone will achieve the highest energy than whatever achieved till today. Okay, so these are the crystalline silicon technologies which we have achieved on a blue graphs. What you have seen, so what we have achieved is only 27 or 30% efficiency. Okay, and these are the thin film technologies, green technologies, which are again lower than this, and the emerging technologies which basically we talk about the dye-sensitized solar cell, perovskite solar cell, CIGS solar cell. So these are till now is again in a lab model only, and we have not reached to application part of these technologies. Okay. So material efficiency specifically is depending on your, as I said, band gap of your material. So the band gap can effectively impact your material efficiency. So efficiency can be calculated as a VOC, ISC, FF upon PA. VOC is nothing but your open circuit voltage, which is depend on your band gap of your material as well as the material. As for silicon, we have a 0.5, and ISC is the short circuit current, which is the maximum current available when you are using any kind of material. Fill factor, and then input power, whatever power which we are getting from the sun. And VOC is directly proportional to your band gap of your material, and ISC is proportional to number of absorbed photons. Okay, so obviously if you have a area more, so your short circuit current will be more. Okay, so we can play with the band gap of your material as well as the area of material, or maximizing the current of your material. Okay, and these are the some maximum quantum efficiencies of your all the cells. So if you see, we have a monocrystalline silicon which is almost absorbing all the efficiency, right? All the wavelength. So it is starting from 300 to 1200. But if you see till 500, still we do not have a efficiency greater than your 60% or 50%. So still we are lacking in a 300 to 500 nanometer range, that we are efficiency is not good. And above 1100, again our efficiency is not good. So effective area for your monocrystalline silicon is 500 to 1000, right? And for amorphous silicon, if you see, it is starting from your again 300 to 700, right? So for each and every things, we have a external quantum efficiency which is associated with it, right? And as I said, depending on your material, the performance of your device will change. So obviously if you see from this graph, so I can understand that only monocrystalline silicon or single crystal silicon can have a maximum utilization of your energy. Okay, or if you can make two junction solar cells or three junction solar cells with a different material. So if I suppose use the monocrystalline silicon with a another kind of things, that is your DSSC, so probably I can have more efficiency for DSSC in this particular range. So I can use DSSC plus monocrystalline silicon to have a greater efficiency, right? So people have tried that one also, that putting a perovskite cell above the crystalline silicon cell to increase the efficiency in this particular region. And again, in this particular region, we do not have any kind of efficiency on this, right? And for and CDT, we have from 800 to 1800. So now even if you combine the monocrystalline plus CDT, so probably we can have a large area to cover for with a solar energy spectrum. Okay, and what is more important to see in a solar cell is your IV characteristics, right? So if you take IV characteristics of solar cell, what you will be getting is this kind of graph. Voltage on your x-axis and current is on a y-axis. And as I said, you have a VOC, that is your open circuit voltage, and you have you do not have any kind of current. So you have a maximum is 0.5 to 0.6 volt. Okay, and maximum current which will be getting it depending on your area of your solar cell. Okay, and the input power, that is your solar cell radiations which is coming, right? And this current then get modulated with your cell size as well as the atmospheric conditions, or the incident energy, which we call it as the insolation of your solar cell. So if you have high insolation, you will be having a higher current. If you have a low insolation, you will be having a low current, right? And then we need to find out your Pmax, which gives you a Imax plus Vmax. Okay, so the maximum power available for your device which you have made it over here. Okay, so if you take this Imax and Vmax, and if you vary this over here, so you can calculate the maximum power which is available with you with that particular device which you have fabricated. Okay, and then we have a effect of shading or a low insolation. Okay, as we know that in a summer we have a 45 degrees Celsius, and in a winter we have around 30 degrees Celsius or 28-25 degrees Celsius, right? And in a rainy season, sometimes we do not see any solar radiations into your atmosphere, right? So obviously the major drawback here solar cell technology, though we have a very high amount of energy which is coming onto the earth, but still we are restricted with a weather, because in a sunny weather you can have a maximum utilization of your energy, but in your winter and rainy season you cannot utilize your maximum amount of energy from the sun, right? So because of that, the shading effect is also there. And even your so if you take a map of your heat map of your India, so you do not have a even distribution of your solar energy. So probably in Nagpur you may have a maximum utilization of your solar cell, but in if you go in a area where you have a max like Shimla or somewhere else, so you cannot use entirely 12 months of your weather for making the utilization of your solar energy radiation. So now if you have an incident energy which is having 1000 watt per meter square, so you may have a maximum current. If you have 800 watt per meter square, you may have a 4 ampere current, and it may go on decreasing, right? So you need to like take care of your shading of your sun also. So in the morning, if you place your sail in a like east direction or in a south direction or in any 4 directions, so we need to track the sun every time to get your maximum utilization of your solar energy, right? So that is again a main disadvantage of this technology. Okay. Now, this is a fundamental of your solar technology, which is required for basically to understand the silicon cells. And as I know, as I said, that we'll be more talking about the silicon solar cell only. So I'll give you one example that even if you focus on one particular area, that will give you a whole entire your life to particularly work on that particular area, right? And then I'll be talking about this example because we are mostly working on this particular area in our lab. And if you see a crystalline silicon absorption, so if you see this green region particularly, so this starts from 300 and it ends to a 1100, right? And in that also you can see that up to a 500 you cannot utilize the maximum portion of your solar spectrum. So now if you see your blue spectrum, that is your solar radiations which are coming, right? So you have from 300 and to a 2500. So what we are utilizing is only a small amount of solar radiations, right? And we are missing your IR radiation as well as the low higher energy radiations, that is your low wavelength radiations. Okay. And now if you can try to utilize this much amount of portion, so again this much amount of portion can increase your efficiency of your established crystalline silicon cell by a 149 watt per meter square. So if you can harness this much amount of energy also, so you can increase the energy to a 149 watt per meter square. And if you utilize the higher energy spectrum also, so it can increase the 164 watt per meter square. So even if you work only on the crystalline silicon solar cells to utilize your high energy region and low energy region, so still you can increase the cell efficiency by a 149 watt per meter square, right? So we'll see how we can utilize this particular amount of energy also to increase the your established silicon solar cells. The most important part is because, as I said, your crystalline silicon is an established technology, and everywhere you will see that your panels or modules or array which are applicable, that are only a crystalline cell technology. So even if you come up with a new material, that will take around 20 to 25 years to come to a market. So the sometimes it's more better option to work on the existing technology or like work on the particular aspect where you can actually increase the efficiency of that particular cell, right? And because of that, we thought to work on this particular area. Okay. And again, in solar cell, you have a different loss mechanism, that is your lattice thermalization losses, then transparency losses, then recombination losses, then junction loss, and then contact voltage loss. So as I said, even if you make a device, still you have a number of problems associated with it, right? So even if you work on a lattice recombination losses, obviously if you high amount of energy is incidenting on the cell, so obviously there will be some thermalization process, and you will be having a lattice thermalization loss into them. Then transparency losses. So obviously, if all energy will not be transmitted, some of them will be reflected. So that much amount of loss will be there. That's why we are putting anti-reflection coating on the top of the solar cells, right? Then recombination losses. Even though the silicon is good semiconductor and we try to separate the electrons and holes, still at the junction, at the depletion region, we'll be having a recombination, which will again reduce your efficiency of your solar cell, right? And then junction loss and the contact voltage losses. So any particular topic you can work on to remove the specifically the problem associated with that particular sets. Okay, so these are the loss mechanism at the short wavelengths. Specifically, we are talking about the 300 to 500 nanometer range. That is this one, because this is the shorter wavelength, and this can give us 149 watt per meter square. So this is almost on every cells we have that loss, on particularly on a short wavelength. Okay, so major loss is on crystalline silicon. We have a emitter recombination and increased reflectance and the absorption from a anti-reflection coating. In monocrystalline, we have a recombination at the dead or front surface layer due to a heavily doped emitter. And amorphous silicons again on a TCO layer and GAS, we have absorption in ALGAS layer and GAS window layer. And on CDT, we have absorption in buffer layer, typically on a CDS or TCO layers. And CIS, we have absorption in buffer, that is your typically CDS or TCO layers. And all the cells we have absorption from glass and encapsulation materials, except from the supersaturated grown thin film technology like amorphous silicon or a CDT. So almost in every cell technology, we have a short wavelength loss mechanism, and almost every shorter wavelength we have this losses. Okay, and this is normalized spectra of your typically silicon crystalline silicon solar cells. You can see that you have a response mostly on after 800 to a 1100, even 300 to 600. You have a response is very less, because when we talk about the absorption length earlier, we have seen that at 1100 we have a more absorption length than your shorter wavelength, right? So even if you convert this much amount of wavelength into a this wavelength, like 300 to 500 range, if you convert to a 1100 range, so you can increase the efficiency of your solar cell. Okay, so even in CDT also, this is your maximum area which is available, and you have this much amount of loss which is in a shorter wavelength, right? So if you develop anything which is reduce this losses, which can be applicable to any cell technology. And obviously, when you compare this with a different kind of technology, you have this much amount of portion, that is your 300 to 500 nanometer length, that is we called it a down conversion gain, which gives you a 146 watt per meter square increase in efficiency. Okay, so what is the solution? So there are two solutions. Either we can go with a luminescent solar concentrator. You must have heard it, solar concentrators also, and luminescent downshifting layer. So we can play with these two things. Luminescent solar concentrator is you have a waveguide, and you can collect all the solar lights at this waveguide, and you can direct that wave to a solar cell, and you can effectively utilize all the radiations accordingly, right? And downshifting layer, you put one more layer on the top of the solar cell and make the down converting materials which can absorb the 300 to 500 nanometer range short wavelength, and it will convert to 1100 nanometer wavelength, and then it will be given to a solar cell. So these two technologies we have as an option. But obviously, we don't want to change the manufacturing process, because if you want to change the manufacturing process, this takes a lot more time, right? So we need to find out the solutions which can be utilized in a current manufacturing process. So the best option is you have anti-reflection coating, and in anti-reflection coating, you can put this downshifting material, and that will not change your manufacturing process of a silicon. So, and that anti-reflection coating, you put it on the top of the solar cell, which will convert to your 300 to 500 nanometer range, and it will effectively increase the efficiency of your solar cells, right? And for this particular range on a IR side, right from 1200 to 2500 nanometer, what you can use is the upconverting material. That means this much amount of energy your material will absorb, and it will convert to a shorter wavelength energy, right? So effectively, you can use the shorter wavelength and a longer wavelength range to increase your material efficiency of your solar cell. Okay, and then basically, what properties are desirable for your downshifting material to be utilized in your solar cells? So basically, you need to have a quantum yield close to a unity. Obviously, if your quantum yield is not greater than or less than your 50%, so obviously that will again have a losses associated with your down converting materials, right? Then your absorption and emission are well separated, because if you have absorption and emission are overlapping to each other, so that will again will reduce the absorption of your solar cell. So you need to have a large Stokes shifts. Then you have a strong absorption in your short wavelength range. So what your material will be developing, that should have a strong absorption in 300 to 500 nanometer range. Then transparency at a longer wavelength range. So if your material is, you do not have a longer wavelength range transparency, so what will happen? It will either reflect all the energy, and again your whole crystalline silicon cell efficiency will get reduced. Okay, and the luminescence peak located near the maximum quantum efficiency, where the solar cell is most effective, that is your 1100 nanometer range. So if you can have a 300 to 500 nanometer absorption material, so it should convert this particular absorption into a greater than 600 or 700 nanometer range, which is a maximum quantum efficiency of your crystalline silicon solar cells. Okay. Additionally, for practical implementation of commercial device, the LDS layer has also to show a high photostability to last for many years under the sunlight and low production cost. Because obviously you are adding one more component into a crystalline silicon cells technology, so the production cost will increase, right? So you should have a production cost of this material is also reduced, and you should have a photostability of this material, because now your cell is lasting for 25 years and your material is degrading at the 5 years, so that will ultimately will reduce the lifetime of your crystalline cell, right? So photostability as well as the production cost should be lower to integrate this technology into a existing technology. Okay, so as these are the specifically point which should be covered, and these are the specifically formulas by which you can calculate the PL quantum yield. As I said, you should have a PL quantum yield equal to 1, right? But that is again very difficult according to material, because you will be having a thermal losses, recombination losses and other losses. So accordingly, you cannot have a quantum yield to be equal to 1. But and then radiative overlap. Now, if you see, this is your absorption, and this is this is your absorption and this is your emission. So this absorption and emission are overlapping, right? So even if your material is emitting from absorbing this material to absorbing this range and emitting this range, so this is overlapping, so that will not be effectively utilized. So you again you can calculate the radiative overlap, and then you can find out how much amount of basically percentage overlap is there and how much amount of energy is efficiency is increasing. And absorption spectral matching. So absorption of the luminescent material must match the region of the solar spectrum. Okay, that is not utilized by the solar cell. So if your material is absorbing greater than 600 nanometers, so it will not be utilized, because that is already utilized by the solar cell. So what we should have a material which can absorb from 300 to 500, right? And then your parasitic absorption, then emission spectral mismatch. And for ideal material, what we should have is a PLQ, LSM, and ESM to be equal to 1. There's given you a formula, so you can calculate all the parameters. For ideal material, it should have equal to 1, and for PA and RO, it should have a 0. Okay, and PA, SM, and ESM are dependent on the external quantum efficiency of the cell. So a certain die that is ideal for a given device might not be best choice for the different photovoltaic device, right? Because as we have seen, the external quantum efficiency is different for your different solar cells, and if you have a different quantum efficiency for different cells, so if you design the one particular material, absorption material for crystalline silicon, that will not be used for a CDDE applications, right? So you need to have a different material for your different technologies as well. Okay. Then what materials options we have? So we have a luminescent dyes. So you must be knowing that there are different dyes which are already existing in the day-to-day life. So we can use that material, because the dyes have a quantum efficiency of So people have basically used dyes as your material. So you can see the beautiful color of these dyes, and almost all the dyes have the absorption in the 300 to 600 nanometer range. Okay, and you have a EVA as your anti-reflection coating, which is commercially available, right? So you can use this dyes into the EVA coating, and you can coat this EVA coat on the top of solar cell, and again you can have a characterization of your this particular set, right? Then absorption and emission of dyes used for your solar cell. So you have a Lumigen F, violet 570, then Key Blast yellow R, yellow 83, yellow 170, orange 240, and red 340. These are the commercially available dyes in the market, and these are the absorption and emission of your this particular dyes. Okay, so if you see, dyes have a overlapping absorption and emission. Okay, but although these have a overlapping absorption and emission, still we have a quantum yield equal to a 1. So and because quantum yield is equal to 1, people have tried this as a absorbing material for your cells. Okay, and these are the few again dyes which people have used. So what you have to do is your EVA coating, earlier it was a transparent, it will look like this. Okay, so this is a CDT with PMMA with R300, and this is CDT with PMMA with a 0 to 40. Okay, so this is red and this is green. So on top of the solar cell, you will put this anti-reflection coating, and then you can find out what is the increase in efficiency of your specifically your cell. Okay, then you can put it into the CIGS with EVA V570 or Y083. Okay, so as I said, you have to change your material according to your technology, right? So this is CDT, this is CIGS, right? So here we have used the R300, here we have used the 570. And for monocrystalline silicon, you have a EVA coating on monocrystalline silicon, and then you can put Y170 or 0 to 40 again. Okay, or EVA with 570 and EVA with 083. Okay, and then you can find out how much amount of energy is basically converted into that one. So these are the PL quantum yield of your all the dyes which are available in the market with a EVA coating. So now if you have these dyes and you put it into a EVA, so then dye concentration is also there, how much amount of dye to be utilized, because if you use the more amount of dye, again it will reduce the efficiency of your dyes, okay, as well as the cell. And then this is your PL quantum, and these are the solar cell which people have already utilized this. And these are basically PL, RO, and ESM, ASM, PA, and epsilon. These people have already worked on it, and they have work on different dyes, and they have calculated almost all the parameters associated what we have talked about right now. Okay, and accordingly you can choose the particular material to specifically apply on the solar cell. Okay. Then you have rare earth organic complexes also. Rare earth organic complexes have higher Stokes shifts. Okay, and the PLQI is again equal to a unity. Okay, so people have used this also as a downshifting material, and you can see you have absorption from 250 to 400, and the emission is at the 600. But if you see this dyes, you was having absorption in 300 to 500, but emission is also 500 to 600. But you we know that your crystalline silicon having the maximum response in greater than 600 nanometer, right? So if you talk about the rare earth organic complexes, this may be a better choice than your dyes, right? But again, we need to see that the photostability of organic complexes are less than your dyes, right? So that is again a different problem associated with different materials. Okay, and these are the different organic complexes which people have already studied. So these are the absorption, these are the emissions, these are the quantum yields associated with that. So we reach up to a 98% of quantum yield, and then Stokes shifts of around 97%. So which almost have a good Stokes shifts. And then you have quantum cutting phosphors, you have downshifting phosphor as well as the down converting phosphor. So the difference is in a downshifting, you may convert one photon to a one photon, that is one shorter photon will convert to a one longer photon. So obviously your quantum yield will be a less than unity. But if you have a quantum cutting material which convert your short energy photon into a two photons, longer wavelength photons, so obviously your quantum yield will be a greater than 100. right? So if you see, there are some materials which can have this kind of materials which can have absorption from this range and emission in 1100. As we know that your crystalline silicon having a maximum utilization in a 1100. So people have tried with absorption from 500 to 600, convert it into a 1100. So entire spectrum you can utilize in a effective way, right? And so these are the combinations which we have. People have already tried with a different synthesis process, and as we know that if you change the preparation method, your whole properties get changed, right? From your structural properties, morphological properties, electrical properties, optical properties, magnetic properties, and everything, right? So even if you choose YBTB with a solid state combustion and sol gel, so your excitation get changes, and external quantum efficiency is 182, 188, and 162, right? So it is greater than 100. As we say, your quantum field should be 1, but it is more than 1, right? And it is possible with some material which convert your 1 photon into a 2 photons, right? So if you talk about this material, this can give you a higher quantum field, right? So again, we can say that this material can increase the efficiency of solar cell. But again, the problem associated with this is you are using the rare earth material, the cost is more, right? So one, though your quantum field is high, your cost is also very high. So if you talk about the manufacturing process, then your cost will be, it will not be a cost effective, right? And these are again some things. And downshifting, as I said, you have a higher energy photon. Like if you absorb the 400 nanometer photon and you got a 800 nanometer photon in a return, right? So other energy got lost in a vibrational losses and all, right? And this material are sometimes more easy to produce. The manufacturing process is very simple, and the cost effectiveness of this material is also there. So there are some. So there are again some these materials which have a different preparation methods. These are excitation emission, and people have already used on different solar cell techniques. Okay. Then you have a quantum dots as a LDS material for photovoltaics. Whatever material we talked till now is having a different morphological as well as the optical properties. And obviously morphologically, if you talk about it, so we have a higher size for your rare earth based material. For dyes, it's not a problem, but photostability is a problem. And to overcome all this problem, maybe quantum dot may be a solution, because quantum dot have a high quantum field around 80 to 90%. Then it is having a great stability, and size you can vary from 1 nanometer to 10 nanometer to 100 nanometer, depending on whatever size you required for whatever applications. And the cost is again very small, because even if you take a ZNO, you can vary the band gap and you can change the absorption and emission of ZNO, right? Even if you take a carbon, you can vary the band gap, and you can change the absorption and emission of carbon. So people have thought to take quantum dots as a downshifting material and to utilize it for your as a downshifting material for your solar cell applications. So what are the strengths? That you have high efficiency and then greater than 80% quantum efficiency, high Stokes shifts, then can make spray or paints. You just take quantum dots and you put it into any material. It will be very easily dispersible in all the matrix, or even if you can spray coat it, and obviously then you can use it, right? And ultimately our aim is to utilize all those things. So these are some quantum dots which people have already synthesized: CDSE, CDS, ZNS, ZNSE, PBS, PBSE, ZNO, INS, silicon, carbon dots, and other, right? So if you take CDT and just you replace the TE with selenium, so you can whole range you can tune it. Okay. So the tuning of your optical property is very easy with your quantum dots model. So that's why people are more interested in but obviously there are some loss mechanism associated with your LDS materials, right? Light absorbed by the re-emitted longer wavelength, then emitted light absorbed by the solar cells, and other these losses are also there. So we need to take care of other losses also. And these are the review of material. which
काही
people have
problem.
already used. This fluorescent dyes. The increase in efficiency is less than 1 milliampere. As I said earlier also, either you try to increase the current, because even if you increase the current, your total output power will increase, because it's I into V, right? So even if you increase the current by small amount, it will increase the efficiency of your solar cell, right? So then people have tried with chromium, europium. So in Al2O3 and OMCIL, so it got around plus 18% efficiency increased. That is plus 7 milliampere per centimeter square current. So if you have a module with 1 meter square module, so it will increase the current by that much amount, and obviously your output power will increase, right? So people have tried with different materials, and you can see that people have got a good results with this, right? And then with again some dyes, people have tried it and they have got the efficiency is around 30 to 40% increase, 10% increase, 28% increase, and all this. Okay, so these are some examples which people have tried with different material. And to come to know a better way, we this is in our lab what we have synthesized. So we have tried with the carbon dots. So with specifically to have a lower production cost, what we tried with a milk. Okay, you just take a milk and use the hydrothermal method, and because milk having a carbohydrates only, so you put it in a high pressure with a high temperature, carbohydrates will get converted to a carbon, right? And this carbon was giving an emission in a absorption in a UV range, that is 300 to 500 nanometer range, and emission in a green region. Okay, and then we spray coated on the top of the solar cell. Instead of putting it into a EVA coating, we put it on the top of the solar cell early for initial experiment. And then what we got is this is a bare cell, reference cell, with an efficiency of 8.74. This bare cell we have taken from the company, and then we applied the different dispersion of this carbon dots with a different concentration. So 2x, 3x, 4x, 6x is the concentration of your quantum dots, right? And then what we got is 8.74 for your bare cell, and for 6x we got 9.70, for 4x 10.46, and 3x 11.6, and for 2x it is 12.11. Okay, so even if you disperse the more quantum dots into your solution and then spray coat it, so more quantum dots will have a like this. If you see, the quantum dots are separated, well separated with each other. But if these are if these quantum dots are nearby situated to each other, so obviously their reabsorption will be there. The emission of your absorption quantum dots will be reabsorbed by your another quantum dot. That may be a possibility, and that will block the energy of from your sun, right? So ultimately it will decrease your efficiency of your solar cell, which may have happened over here. Okay, so this what we have tested in our lab, and we got almost a good increase in efficiency for this solar cell. And again, because people are trying with the dyes, and as we know that turmeric is a well-known dye which people are using in a home, and which is almost the cost is very less, right? Because every person is using it. And now if you take this turmeric and put it into a ethanol, so turmeric is having a curcumin dye. Okay, specifically with this, and what solution you will be seen is your yellow kind of thing. This experiment you can do it in your home also. That take a turmeric dye, put it in a ethanol, and then just sonicate it. So curcumin dye will get separated from your curcumin, that is your turmeric, and the solution what you will see is your yellow solution. Put it in your UV light, and then accordingly you will see a green light or something. So this is your absorption and emission. So you see you have a 300 to 500 nanometer absorption, but emission is around 550 nanometer range. Okay, and then again we tried with a cell, and you can see the reference cell having a 7.54 efficiency, and layer one was now we done this instead of spray coat, we done it with a spin coating, layer by layer spin coating. Okay, so on top of glass slide, we have taken a different layers, 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer, 6 layer, and 10 layer. And for one layer, we got 8.57 percentage conversion efficiency. For two layer, it is 9.23. For three layer, it is 10.20. And layer 6, 8.90. And again, for 10 layer, it is 7. So after 3 layers, the efficiency was go on decreasing, right? So obviously, the more amount of layers will not increase your efficiency because it will block the radiations, right? And now if you see the current, the ISC was earlier 19 and fill factor is 43. Here fill factor has got increased, VOC got increased, and the maximum current what we increased from 19 to 21. So even 2 milliampere current increase has given me an efficiency of 10.2 from 7.5. So even if you increase the current or VOC, ultimately your output power will increase and which will increase your percentage conversion efficiency. So even for gallium arsenide, CDS, CDSC, ZNS and CDS, ZNS have been tried with again spray coated or just drop casted kind of things. And for different cells, again it has been checked. So reference cell it was around 14.48, and now you can see the increase in efficiency with this, right? So this is the way by which even if you take one particular portion of your solar cell or one particular problem associated with your established technology, you can work on that, and which can contribute to increase in your efficiency of your solar cell, right? And these are the some uses of your solar energy. So obviously we have put it into the solar air heater, solar water heater, solar cooker, which is well known. And even government of India has DST has quoted that even if someone can make a solar chula which can replace your LPG chula, so that will be again great. But still we have not got any solution for that. From last 3 years, government is putting it on the website that if anyone can make the solar chula, so it can replace your gas which is on your home appliances, right? Then solar cooling system, so it can replace your cooler as well as AC. So obviously your environmental impact will be there, right? Then power towers, then Fresnel meters, and BPIV, VIPV application for daylight way, and dish collector. These are the applications. On recent, people are trying to use it on a drones as well as the terrestrial applications because on atmosphere you cannot use another kind of energy. So only available energy is solar energy, and which is more than your earth energy, right? So people are trying to use it in a drones as well as terrestrial applications. Solar pumps are already there. Solar cars, people are trying to do develop it so that you can have solar cars. Then on rooftop, we are already trying to do it, right? So utilization of maximum surface, we are trying it. And then cooler cell phones and other kind of things, we are already trying this. Okay. So what are the advantages and disadvantages associated? So it's a free, clean, and non-polluting energy, so we can use it. It's a renewable and sustainable energy. So till sun is there, we can obviously use this, which can provide the electricity to the remote places. Still, we are having some places where we have not reached your grid connection. So obviously, this can be a good solution. Then high power to weight ratio. Then they require very little maintenance because we have a 25 years of warranty. So obviously, the maintenance is very low. And we have a long life, 25 years of life, and there are no fuel cost or fuel supply problems. And disadvantages are solar power can be obtained in night, cannot be obtained in night time. So you have only 12 hours to utilize it. So 12 hours it will be useless. Then solar cells or solar panels are less efficient and very expensive because we are getting very good energy, and what we are converting is only 20%. Still, we are 80%. We are basically not converting it into a utilized form. And energy is not stored in a batteries. So what we are using it, we are converting it into a grid form, and again we do not have a batteries which can store it for a longer time. So that is another problem. And then reliability depends on the location. As I said, your heat map is different for your different locations. So on all the locations you cannot install your solar panels. Then environmental impact of PV cell production and air pollution and weather can affect the productivity of your electricity, because it can create heat islands where you have a solar cells or solar arrays established over there, and they need a large area of land to produce more efficient power supply. As I said, your area is increased, your obviously the power is increased. So if you need to have one home to be on the solar cell, so you should have a 5 kVA or 3 kVA panel, so it will take you around your 10 feet by 10 feet area, right? And solar energy is diffuse source. Okay, so the problem associated with this are, first is you cannot store this, second is depending on the area where you are putting it. Okay, and obviously we need to work on this particular aspect also, right? So, and India specifically, if you talk about, so we are utilizing around thermal energy, okay, 63.4%, nuclear energy around 1.93%, hydro energy is around 12%, and renewable energy is 21.95%. This is up to 2019, 31st March 2019. So we are slowly trying to reduce the thermal energy which we are utilizing. So still we have a 63% to be reduced if you are talking about the renewable energy. Okay. And achievements in grid connected renewable power. So almost till 2019, we have almost established the 15,445 megawatt of capacity. Okay, including your wind power, rooftop, small hydropower, waste power, and other kind of things. And these are the state-wise estimated solar energy potential. So total potential is 748 gigawatt. Okay, and if you talk about the Maharashtra and other kind of things, so still we have a 64 gigawatt of capacity which we can install in, particularly in Maharashtra. And these are the top 10 states which have already installed the solar panels. So we are in Maharashtra specifically, we are around 1633, and in Karnataka is the highest, which is 6095 megawatt of power which have installed. Okay, so we are still lacking, and we still have a scope to install the things. And solar rooftop, obviously, we have almost installed 1436 of megawatt of total power. And if you can see, we're still not able to see the rooftop kind of things in our home, because there are still a problem, because we cannot have a plug and play kind of things, right? And these are the stimulative state-wise things which people have done it. Okay, so specifically what we required is for solar technology is a plug and play kind of things. So like your the solar charger, even if you required, you need a plug and play kind of things. Even if you want to put it for your any kind of application in a home appliances, or even if your office appliances or anywhere, the proper solution what we required is a plug and play kind of thing. So either you can work out on the problems associated with the fundamental problems, or you can work on a technical problems associated with it, right? As I said, the solar chula you can work out, or losses which we have, thermalization losses or other kind of losses, you can work on that, and you can choose any kind of particular area, and you can have a solutions accordingly. Okay, and so thank you so much for listening very effectively. So this is my research team currently working with me, and some people who have worked with me to do this research and to reach up to this mark. And these are total students which are working with me and who completed their projects under the EMDL lab, that is Energy Materials and Devices lab. Besides solar cells, we are already working on synthesis and fabrications of nanomaterials, as well as the energy conversion, as well as the storage materials, like supercapacitor and battery. Because as I said, even if you have a good conversion technology with efficiency of 30%, still we do not have a particular technology which can store this energy, right? So obviously battery is required, and for that again we are trying with the supercapacitor and batteries. And then for flexible supercapacitors and flexible batteries and flexible solar cells also we are working. And these are some papers which has been published through our labs in a reputed journal like Nanoscale, Nature, and Electrochemical Acta, and other kind of things. This are the books. You can go through this book also. This is fundamental book for solar energy and the rise of solar cell. There's a chapter in that which is there, and these are the facility associated with our lab. And thank you so much for listening. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can ask me. And if you are interested in working with our lab, it's open to all. If you have any kind of ideas associated with you, so you can come and join our lab and you can work out with our lab. Probably, if possible, we can help you to go through your problems and associated problems with this. And thank you so much, Kokade sir and Atul, for giving me an opportunity to interact with the persons or the people who are listening to these workshops. Over to you, Atul.
Thank you very much, sir. Some of the participants are trying to ask some question to you. I will unmute them. Please answer them. Okay, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Minal Tarkhede. Hello, Minal Tarkhede. Hello, Minal Tarkhede.
Hello, sir.
Please ask your question.
No question, sir.
You are raising hand here, na?
No, sir.
Next participant.
Thank you very much, sir. No other participant will try to ask the question. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Very nice talk and very elaborately you have explained. So thank you very much, sir.
जो पेपर हुए उसी को वो करनी है नहीं जो पेपर नहीं हुए ना उसमें सिर्फ पास लिखा हुआ है और मतलब जो उससे मार्किंग करके हाँ तो उसको परसेंटेज उसी से मानेंगे
Now I am inviting Dr. Atul Ergude to introduce our second speaker, Mr. P.D. Temple, Director, Greenlight Private Limited, Nagpur. Please, sir.
आप कर रहे हो क्या चालू तो कर रहा है मेरे को तो अभी जून में बोल रहे थे कि बिल तो करवाओ कम से कम करके फिर पानी गिर गया तो बोले तो ये नहीं होता ना जैसे भी होता बने देखते बाहर
It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Praful Tembre sir. Mr. Praful Tembre sir is an electronic engineering and is having 23 years of experience as training. Mr. Praful Tembre sir is an industrial electronics engineering and is having 23 years of experience as training and placement officer. He is innovative and creative in his efforts to manage activities for obtaining success and effective results. He believes in best products with world-class standards and in induction of latest technology. in business to satisfy human needs of all levels. He is a man pioneer for a great vision for green revolution and is resourceful in running business in solar, wind, tidal, wave, and biomass renewable energy. He is in consultancy for turnkey projects in solar products and system for last 25 years and now a successful entrepreneur for 9 years. With his technical and business skills, new agri solar products are now of IEC standard and are approved by MNRE Central Power Research Institute. An agri solar product is listed and is a leading solar rooftop installer for National Solar Mission. Today, he will going to deliver his talk. With a great pleasure, I request Mr. Praful Tembre sir to enlighten us with his talk.
Thank you, Vishram sir. Thank you, Dr. Kokule sir. Hello. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Acha. I am not getting the screen. Is my presentation visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I am very happy to join the webinar, and I am trying to share my practical experience with you. And my company Agreen Solar is in solar business since 2011, and I will have three ways or three parts of my presentation. One will be the company and its work. Another will be the worldwide examples and the best possible in solar. Just pardon me, I am not getting the view of the Zoom. My slides are visible, sir?
Your screen is visible, your sound is good.
Wonderful, wonderful.
It is visible, everything is good.
Okay, sir.
Your video, your screen, your sound, all are very good. Go ahead.
So once again, namaskar to all of you, all webinar participants. Specifically, I want to thank Dr. N.S. Kokule, Principal Sir, the Secretary Ashokji Bhaiya, Convener Meshram Sir, Co-Convener Parshuramkar Sir, Erpule Sir, and Dr. Abhay Deshmukh for his detailed and wonderful presentation. As I am an installer for a solar power plant at NH College, and it is appreciated by MEDA and MNRE, and I hope this is a leading step by the NH College, my alma mater. I thank you very much, sir. And as the target is to illuminate the distinct remote areas where the electricity, the cable is not visible, so solar power is there, and micro grids are now in application, so that the home illumination and the irrigation to the farmers at free cost is targeted. As Dr. Deshmukh has also elaborated, the availability of illuminance, and this is a map where 6.6 is maximum in Rajasthan and 4.6 is minimum we fall in a band of 5.4 luminous, that is kilowatt hour per square meter per day, and that is the advantage. It is a maintenance free energy and we are utilizing it for the various purposes. Thomas Edison in 1931 said that I will put all my money into the solar energy, and that inspired me to work for solar energy. This is our vision and our mission. We are trying to network the experts and the partners in solar energy. This is 2020 Prafulla Tembre. It was 2011 when we started. Even though I am an electronics engineer and electrical engineer, but while working in rooftop solar energy, now I am a mechanical or structural engineer, and now taking part and help of architectures to add value to the homes, so that the rooftops on the each home is purposefully used. So initially, when we talk of solar, to people understand that it's only water heaters. Then they say that it's a street light. Now people are getting aware, and it is now feasible for each home, each farmer, each pump, each industry, and almost 35 to 40% of the electricity for any organization can be catered by the solar energy. I will share with you, these are the list of the products we are dealing in, and this is our presentation, short presentation. As we say, Paryavan Raksha mein har ghar agresar. This is one of our site at Brahmapuri. This is Honorable Secretary Ashok Ji Bhaiya's house. This building and its installation is admired wherever we go. They say what architecture, the beautiful architecture, and how the solar panels are enhancing its elevation. This is again the active participation and great care taken by Ashok Ji Bhaiya while the inspection of MEDA. This is LMB. This is another NH College Ladies Hostel site. This is 30 kilowatt. This is NH College 32.5 kilowatt. And this is a table which will elaborate why people should go for the investment and install the solar power plant. The project size is 32.5 kilowatt and the total cost is 17.4 lakhs. As average sunny hours per day at Brahmapuri is around 4.2, so the daily generation will be 130 kilowatt per, that is unit, 130 units per day. So per month it will be, and annually it will be 47,000 units. So the levelized cost, what NH College was paying for 12 rupees, is now has come down to 2.95 rupees, and the payback period is 3 years only. At the right bottom, on 2.5 years, the whole investment is get recovered. This certificate shows that the investment is around 17.5 lakhs, and the per year saving is 6.22 lakhs. So lifetime it will save around 1 crore 32 lakhs. It will save water 5.5 lakh liters of water, and the CO2 emission is also saved. So that way we are reducing pollution as well as we are economically getting benefit. So congratulations NH College. This is another sites. This is 2011 site, which is an offline and online UPS is attached with this solar, and the whole building, the office is running on that 30 computers. This is one of the site which gives me pleasure to share with you. It is on a tank which is in Pench area of forest, where water scarcity was there, and with the help of this we have taken water to 7.5 kilometers away from this tank to the farmer's farmhouse. See, the practical difficulty was that when it is on float, so we have to shift. We wanted to shift the whole structure from this position so that the depth of the tank can be increased. So we have raised the level and then shifted it and completed the site. And now it is almost 2.5 years. It's working wonderfully, and a 130-acre land with this 7.5, another two 55 HP and two 10 HP solar power pumps are installed over there, and they are working very well. This is an area where we struggle that land is available which is limited for solar, and hence water surface is now been targeted so that the power plants can be installed on water surface. See the scale from a laboratory of physics, now a practical applicable megawatt power plant on the water surface. This is feasible, and in our industry we say that future power plants cover 71% of the planet. This is an example where the distributed or distant solar power requirement is fulfilled by the solar power plant in the escorting boundaries. In tourism, we are focusing, and you will see that a number of these Iceland kind of smaller floating areas or major floating areas, or in a year, say 10 to 20 years after, you will see that the countries are on float. The floating countries or floating villages or floating resorts are on target. This is the remotest and smallest we call of highest social value. This small item is costing around 1,000 rupees, but this 1,000 rupees can give education to a child, pollution-free light to a hut, and a light and fan to a hut. So it has a very social value. We have audited a social value of a lantern, and you will be astonished to know that with this 1,000 rupees, we can bring education to a poor child. We can enhance the health of a hygiene of a kitchen of a hut, and even the snake bites and wherever they want to go, this small light can help the poor man, and it has a very highest social value found in. This is another example which we have done for around 250 villages in Vidarbha. It is a wonderful solution for drinking water. We call it as mini drinking water supply scheme, where a 5,000 liter tank and a 1 HP pump. We observed that in summer area like in Brahmapuri or in very hot areas, in remote areas, when the hapsi or the hand pump goes down, then the whole village is without water. And ladies who are responsible for arranging water, they have to carry water from a remote area, maybe around 2, 3, 4, 5 kilometers away. But with the help of this small 5 lakh investment for mini water supply scheme, solar based, it is again having a higher social value. A village having this kind of 2 or 3 water pumps will fulfill the requirement of drinking water and the hardship of bringing drinking water from remote area or distant area. See, this is a wonderful example how people are getting water supply free of cost. We have seen that bigger water schemes are now dry and orphan because MSEB has cut their power supply because the villages have not paid their electric bill. So solar power is free for 25 years, and this is a comparison where in remote area, a boy previously want to have water, did lot of labor, and now a line of utensils are there and automatic water filling, drinking water is given. Even in forest, we do have the same scenario. The life of wild animals is saved by the water bodies, water holes, which are pumped by a solar pump. It is once if you install and forget about it, it will give the drinking water. This is another compost making insect trap where we trap the insects. Organically, we bury it and get the compost. This is street light well popular. Nowadays, solar trees are there, and we want that wherever the deserts are there, we will install the solar trees so that the land is utilized and the electricity generated can be used for various purposes. These building elevations and facades are of solar. So people are now coming up, my building should have solar panel covered instead of glass, simple glass, so that whatever efficiency from a opposite side, not from the south side, that can be utilized, scattered, and the building's consumption to a level of 40% is scattered by the solar power plant. Now MSEDCL has given permission for last 2 years, and grid tied electricities are produced, and the batteries are not now required, and now it is completely a green energy. Green energy, that solar energy can be hybridized with wind energy and tidal energy. This is 1 megawatt tidal generator. It can be hybridized or clubbed with a floating solar power plant. So from a bottom of the sea, we will generate electricity on the surface of, we will put the solar panel and have the requirement. Government of India has given a rating parameter where the residential purpose or the buildings are motivated to install and save the environment. For that, they say what gets measured is get managed. So green rating for integrated habitat assessment, that is GRIHA ratings are given, and they are 1 star to 5 star. So GRIHA ratings are given on the basis of energy generation, UV IR filter. So if UV and IR are filtered for a home, so they are the best. The thermal insulation, natural illumination, innovative design, and the CO2 reduction. So the buildings now you will see that it will be 1 star, 2 star, and 5 star on the criteria of 34 criteria. So like passive design, use of efficient system, and use of renewable has to be considered while having our home, our bungalows, or our offices or colleges. Honorable members, that's why I say green buildings are now good investments. And see the structures, the architecture has given a space, the area where the panels can be installed, and the elevation is beneficial. The banks are now advised to give home loans for the installation of solar. So you can contact any nationalized bank, or now cooperative banks are also coming. This is our hybrid solar power plant at CTCC Bank Chandrapur. This is, see the beauty of this. A small fan and a light is over there on a wooden bench, and one can enjoy the solar energy. This is a couple who has invested 30 years back on solar energy, and they are enjoying it in their farmhouse. This is a floating resort where all the energy requirements are battery backed, and the charging is done by the solar. This is a floating platform. The boats are now powered by solar, supported by solar. So the fishing boats can move now to 200, 300 miles inside the sea, and the catch is there, and the revenue generation will be more. The flexible solar panel is there, but it has limited scope and the disadvantages. This is most popular solar mobile charger, which can give a distant learning. Many of you must have seen that the world tour was completed by a solar energy powered aeroplane by solar impulse. This is our office, mobile office. Whenever we go on our site, we are getting powered by, and the stories in the mobile van. This is a small advertisement we do in Nagpur. This is a wonderful thing, a small freezer, and the power is by solar panels. IOCL gives subsidy for 50% for their petrol pumps, and Agreen Solar, I am happy to share with you that the problems with the petrol pumps, where the motors are getting on and off, and the spikes, the fluctuations are managed, and our solar power plants are now working very well. We are vendor for IOCL, HPCL, and PVCL. This is an innovative marketing part. We have installed around 20 solar street lights on Tandoori nights, and you can see the batteries and the panels on the Tirpude College, and the whole event was powered by Agreen Solar, and I am happy that he promoted a lot. This national solar mission, this rooftop, this is a 1 megawatt Fiat plant at Ranjangaon, Pune. We have completed successfully, and it's 2.5 years now. They have increased their capacity from 1 megawatt to 4 megawatt. This is another event. We have provided street lights and focus lights powered by solar. This is a parking. This is another innovative design. See, when I was listening to Dr. Deshmukh, it was core scientific principles, but in application you have to have various designs related to structure. So the clamps and everything they installed over here, they are running for 4 years, and it's wonderful experience. 2019, MSCDCL has got the guidelines from MERC for net metering, and MSDCL will get the banking charges 12% for the banked energy for residential and commercial, and for industrial purpose they will charge 7% of the banked energy. Now what is the banked energy? When we have grid tied system, so in grid tied system, firstly the generated energy is consumed by the consumer and the excess energy is transferred or exported to the MSDCL. And in night we import the electricity. So export minus import, if export is more than import, then we say that the banked energy is there, and that banking charge MSCDCL is charging with us. This is a small example of 5 kilowatt power plant which generates 25 units per day. So annually, and for its life, it generates 1,87,500 units, and total cost of the system is 3 lakhs. So the cost per unit will become or comes out to be 2 rupees, and it is fixed. MSDCL may rise the tariff, but the solar tariff is fixed because it is once set. This is another example for calculation, how many lights, fans, how many hours it will work, and what investment. And we have a comparison that with this 10 kilowatt power plant with an investment of 13 lakh, and another information is very important. I want to mention here is when we started, the per kilowatt power plant charge was 130 rupees per watt. And dear sirs and friends, now the cost of the per kilowatt unit is 40 rupees, 50 rupees, 60 rupees. See the drastic reduction in power plant's cost. It is from 130 to 50 rupees, 60 rupees, and the comparison of this electricity bill and solar EMI for a 15,000 electricity bill. Now the electricity solar charges are 3 rupees, 3.5 rupees. This is an architectural wonderful site which is admired and by many of our visitors and customers. It is a 20 kilowatt site on the rooftop. This is a top side which has power plant, and inside this is a wonderful interior which is utilized for a theater and a gym room, and a vertical garden is provided. The topmost is 2415 is an export unit, and 3937 is an import unit. Hello. This is an example of bidding history of our client. As I said, the excess energy is banked with the MSCDCL, and on 31st March, whatever amount of units we have banked with the MSCDCL, they convert or purchase it at a rate of minimum purchase rate for the renewable energy. And for this 2018, it was 10,000 negative, and in 2020, it is 22,610. So the general generation and the suggestion is that we should not install a power plant which supplies surplus energy. So whatever is our self-consumption, that should be only produced. This is a parking, and these black spots are the solar cells. This is another wonderful solar parking. This is a rooftop. Below it, this is a site. The work is on the site. See the wonderful elevation of a building, how beautiful the solar panels are looking. This is another what 7.5 HP, 5 HP for 7.5 acre of farm. So we have fought for the drip irrigation system. And now the solar, previously the drip irrigation systems were saying that those solar pumps cannot fulfill their pressure requirement. And now it is running, and our 5 HP pump is providing wonderful. This is another wonderful design where a high mast is provided with the backlit. This is the telescopic backlit. It can be raised up to 30 feet, and the bottom light can spread on a lawn, and the event can be memorable and beautifully ambience is provided. We do train professionals on our site. We engage Raisoni College, Priyadashini College, and their students are working with us for the practical training, internship. And this is a Fiat plant, 1 megawatt, and now it is 4 megawatt. And the saving is huge. This is wonderful parking which everyone should share. And this is a target where each home should have a solar power plant, so the pollution is minimal and the environment will be human friendly. This is a movable generator set with batteries and solar panel. These are all solar boards, and as I mentioned, we will have floating resorts. We will have smaller floating countries in years to 10 to 20 years to come. And the solar power plant, wind, wave energy, a hybrid system will be powering it out. This is a 20 kilowatt solar rooftop dusting of our site. So we need to clean the panel so that the transparency of the panel is maintained. This is the cleaning part. After dusting, we do get the cleaning.
रामटेकेलाच म्हटलं होतं BSNL लिहून दे आणि केमिस्ट्री.
The worship of the plant. Now I am sharing a video which explains various.
There used to be greater harmony between humans and nature. Then the Industrial Revolution happened. Since then, machines and technology brought prosperity to humankind. Innovation changed the way people live. The environment took a hit with the growing carbon emissions. With the occurrence of climate change, there were major disruptions in our planet. More natural disasters occurred across the world. The Paris Agreement 2015 has set a goal to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels. The burning of fossil fuel to power the world's growing population and booming economy has been one of the great drivers of climate change. It is believed that replacing fossil fuels by renewables is the best solution to curbing carbon emissions worldwide. Hydro, wind, and solar became clear options to generate energy to power the world. Scientists predict that by 2050, the world will rely purely on renewables, of which 69% will be generated using solar power. The sun provides immense and infinite resources for mankind. Just 1 year's energy from the sun exceeds the sum of all other energy reserved on the Earth combined. The sun is a huge energy resource we can harvest, as certain as the sunrise. Solar energy will continue to evenly power all corners of the world. Where the sun is shining, there is solar power generation to come. If 1% of the world desert areas are utilized for solar power stations, the electricity generated can power the entire human society. How incredible this sounds. In its early days, solar power was mainly applied for high-end and high-precision applications like space and aeronautics. With the rapid advances in technology, the levelized cost of energy, or LCOE, from solar power has dramatically gone down by 90% in only about 10 years. Regions with abundant sunshine can now harvest solar energy for just 1.7 US cents per kilowatt hour. With the ever-improving technology, it will get even better. Many would ask, the sun is not up all day. What happens at night? As the solar industry grows, more integrated solutions appear. New approaches can ensure the sustainability of solar power generation. For example, during the daytime with sufficient sunlight, we utilize the solar power stations to generate electricity to satisfy the demands of the metropolis. Then, in cloudy conditions and at nighttime, we can use a combination of solar and energy storage to generate power continuously. We can build pump storage stations. The electricity generated can power the... Many would ask, the sun is not up all day. What happens at night? As the solar industry grows, more integrated solutions appear. New approaches can ensure the supply the demands of the metropolis. Then, in cloudy conditions and at nighttime, we can use a combination of solar and energy storage to generate power continuously. We can build pump storage stations in places with the right terrain profiles. During the day, we use solar energy to pump water from lower level to higher level. At night, we release the water to power the pump storage station. Thus, we can have continuous power supply day and night. Electric vehicles are becoming more prominent transportation means for many. We also have to realize that these cars are virtually mobile battery options too. During the day, solar power is used to charge electric vehicles for daily use. At night, after serving our transportation needs, these electric vehicles can release the excess energy back to the grid. 1 billion electric vehicles around the world can store 100 billion kilowatts of solar-derived power per day, which can fully meet the global demands of electricity at night. In the near future, we can use global energy interconnection to balance the load between supply and demand. Day and night, the global energy interconnection can work continuously and tirelessly to ensure solar power is either generated, stored, or delivered in all parts of the world. This is truly beyond imagination. Even better, solar for solar, Longi's new business model. At night, the factory can get electricity through a variety of energy storage systems. Solar for solar is a perfect way to fully leverage the whole industry chain. Carbon emissions are totally zero throughout the entire process. Through the solar for solar model, we can develop the solar industry much more significantly and thereby create more green energy. With the accelerated adoption of solar energy, not only can we curb the increase of carbon emissions, but we can also revive our planet. Once large-scale solar power stations are built, they will not only supply sufficient electricity to cities, the surplus power can be used for seawater desalination. The annual volume of seawater desalination could reach 100 billion tons. After desalination, the seawater can be used to irrigate the desert, develop agriculture, and turn the desert into an oasis of farmlands. Once the vegetation has increased, the existing carbon emissions in the atmosphere would be captured, absorbed, and cleaned up. A negative carbon emission mode therefore begins. The model, which uses solar power to revive the ecology of the Earth, can be widely applied in many parts of the world. As calculated, when 70% of the Earth's deserts turn into oases, all emissions that have ever been emitted since human civilization can be entirely absorbed. The era of negative emissions could truly arrive. Deglaciation, flood, forest fires will no longer occur. Smog, dust storms will be eradicated for good. Time to go into action. Let's revitalize the Earth with new energy.
So with this, if time permits, hello.
Hello, sir.
If time permits, we have another 4-5 minutes presentation. Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Shall I continue or it's okay?
Okay, sir. You should continue.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice.
From REC Group comes a revolutionary solar panel. This is the Alpha. The REC Alpha series
latest and the
based on
best
heterojunction cells.
solar
The
power
REC
plant
Alpha combines the very best
manufacturing
of N-type mono and thin film technologies, achieving incredible levels of efficiency, power, and strength. To make such a high-power solar panel, we start with the most efficient crystalline cell technology. N-type mono wafers are sandwiched into amorphous silicon, which act as passivation. This enables more holes and electrons in the cell to be converted to energy than ever before. As the cell temperature rises, the REC Alpha produces much more energy than standard crystalline panels. The REC Alpha uses advanced low-temperature interconnection technology, a highly innovative technique for connecting solar cells. A film with very thin wires is placed on the cell, creating a solderless bond while also providing extra protection against outside influences. This eliminates weak points caused by the impact of conventional high-temperature soldering. Our advanced connection technology adds more contact points to the cell, reducing electron congestion for optimum power delivery. What's more, these wires are much thinner than the bus bars on standard panels, making the REC Alpha a thing of beauty with beast levels of power. The REC Alpha uses REC's pioneering and award-winning twin design, where we divide the panel into two identical sections. This splits the current as it enters the panel, reducing resistance losses by a factor of 4 to give you greater power output. Furthermore, if shade falls on an REC Alpha panel, one half continues generating electricity, even when the other half is shaded for a higher energy yield. REC Alpha uses REC's super strong frame design, including 2 support bars across the rear, an innovative way of improving the durability and longevity of the panel. This increases the panel's ability to withstand extreme loads, making the REC Alpha much stronger than a standard panel. As a result, the panels will maintain their high performance levels over their lifetime, as backed up by REC's leading warranty. When installed in limited spaces, such as residential and commercial rooftops, REC Alpha panels offer a clear advantage. Packing so much more power into the same area provides much more energy generation capacity. With the REC Alpha, the same number of panels installed in the same space gives you so much more power. Combining all these advantages, REC Alpha is incredibly powerful solar panel for your home or business. Coming with the insulating quality of REC, you can now truly maximize the power of your installation. REC Alpha shades.
यहाँ पे वो हम लोग बोल लाए ना प्लास्टिक और जुड़ जाता उससे प्लास्टिक अभी लगा दे अभी तूने अच्छी लगा रही
Hello. So this is all about what I want to share. Hello.
Hello.
हाँ sir, thank you very much. It is all about I wanted to share. If anybody has any question, I can answer.
Yeah. Parshuramkar, is there any question? Hello, Physics Department. Is there any question? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Is there any question, Parshuramkar, in the chat box? Saurabh.
Saurabh Patil is there.
Saurabh, please unmute your mic and ask the question directly. Saurabh Patil.
Yes, Saurabh Patil, sir.
You can ask. I think there is no any question. So thank you very much, Dr. Kapoor.
Hello, sir.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
Ask the question.
Hello.
Yeah. You can ask the question, please.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Patil, sir.
You are audible. Ask.
I'm getting it. Ask the query. Rather, I want query in spite of questions because it's an application. You want to install power plant?
Yes, sir. I am a student.
Wonderful. Yes, Patil.
Hello, sir. What to do to start the solar rooftop business? What is the initial step?
First thing is you should be ready for hard work.
Yes, sir.
Because when you are a student, you are a white collar person where you are getting training, education. It's a soft collar, and in a solar business, you will be in a blue collar job. Blue collar job means when it is required to swim, you have to swim. If you want to, you are required to work as a labor, you have to work as a labor. So it's a blue collar job. This is first thing. Second thing is that nowadays it's a tough competition. So if I am quoting for 100 rupees, another person will come and say it is 75 rupees.
Okay.
One person will come and he will say it is 50 rupees. So you should be able to handle the competition and minimize the cost.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Deshmukh was mentioning that soldering and tin is there for collection of the electrons to get the solar electricity generated. So the technology has now come where the lamination is there, no soldering, anything is there. So the temperature thermal coefficient is improved and cost is reduced. So that way, that is the basic. And another thing is that in solar business, you can be a solar dealer, distributor, solar
Yes.
system integrator, or solar system designer. And in business, you have to do everything there. Hard work is there. Okay.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Okay, thank you, sir.
And the thing is that you have to coordinate with the government authorities also. You are sandwiched between a customer and government authority. So even though the customer is ready, but the government authority is not permitting, then you are unable to do it.
Okay, right.
It's a wonderful business of green energy.
Sir, related to that, there is any online training session that you are explained before some time? Any training session or any program or any certificate courses?
Present, this DIC is conducting the courses, but I am not aware of whether they are conducting it online. MSME is also conducting a training. Even ITIA and polytechnics are conducting. And it's not a big business, big technical or rocket science. You can inquire from me also. And if you want, you can start it.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any questions from participants?
Okay, then conclude. Dr. Dhani is there.
Thank you very much, Kemre sir, for good elaborative talk. Now I am inviting Dr. D.H. Dhane sir, our Vice Principal, for concluding remarks. Dr. D.H. Dhane sir.
Dear friends, Professor Parshurankar, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Dear friends, good morning, good afternoon to all. Chief Patron of the webinar, Honorable Ashok Ji Bhaiya, Secretary of Newsabhai Hitkarini Education Society Bramhapuri, Organizer and Inaugurator of this webinar, our beloved Principal, Dr. N.S. Kokode sir, very special guest and key speakers of this webinar, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh, Assistant Professor, Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur, and Dr. Prafulla Tembre, Director, Green Allied Services Private Limited. Friends, at the outset, I congratulate to Principal of the college and Head of the Department of Physics, Sri Ratan Mishra, convener of this webinar, and co-convener Professor Parshurankar, Professor Erkude, and their team to organize the webinar on the fast developing industry like solar power and technology. And he organized the talk not only on not only in research point of view, but in actual application point of view also. Today we have two guests, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh, Assistant Professor, Rashtrasanta Tukadoji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur, who deliberated on fundamental properties and applications of solar technology. He elaborated many new things in very simple way, and their presentation was very excellent. He touched to the solar radiation spectrum. He has given very good statistical data in their talk. He given very informative talk on and he covered how to generate the electricity from solar energy. He touched to various points: solar, photovoltaic cell, then generation of solar cell technology, thin film technology, and so many things. So he covered all fundamental aspects of the solar technology. Also, he touched to luminescent materials, which are very important in the research point of view. So the researcher can concentrate on the research on the luminescent materials for required in the solar technology. At the same moment, other guest, our Dr. P.D. Tembre, has given the talk on practical aspects, how the practically design the solar roofs and install the solar technology. He given one interesting thing. Well, that is, after 5 years, there is no electric bill. And friends, it is true. Practically, it is true. Because in our college, our electric bill was per month more than 1 lakh. And now it is below 10,000. This is the difference. So naturally, after 5 years, we will in the stage that our college bill will be zero. Also, he has given different solar tools and their utility at the different places, remote places. So I am very much thankful to both the guests. One thing I have to mention here, most of the people say after 5 or 10 years, India will be the superpower. There are two key aspects to make India a superpower. One aspect is human resource, and second is solar technology. If we utilize and develop the solar technology in proper way, no doubt India will become the superpower. Because in current scenario, India is importing more than 50% of energy consumption from the other countries. But if we utilize the solar energy in a large extent, then we will become the self-sufficient. So finally, I express my sincere thanks to both guests, Dr. Abhay Deshmukh and Dr. Tembre, for their nice, informative talk, and hand over the control to Professor Pashu. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. It has been very fascinating, very engaging, and productive day. Now, it's my duty to propose formal vote of thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Honorable Ashokji Bhaiya, Secretary Nevzabai Bhaiya Education Society, who have provided valuable support in all regards. My heartfelt thanks to respected Dr. N.S. Kokode sir, our principal, for providing opportunity to conduct this webinar and of course guiding us every time. I also wish to express my gratitude to our Vice Principal, Dr. D.S. Ghane sir, for providing encouragement and support in every respect. I would like to thank our keynote speakers, Honorable Dr. Abhay Deshmukh sir and Mr. P.D. Tembre sir, who spared their auspicious time with their valuable and informative talks. I would also like to thank Professor R.S. Mishram sir, Head Department of Physics, for his constant support, encouragement and guidance. Now I also would like to extend a special thanks to Dr. A.N. Erpude sir, Dr. Thauri sir, Dr. Arvind Mungole sir, Professor Abhay Pawar sir and team for technical support to ensure the presentation and recording goes smoothly. And finally, I think before I end, I must thank all the participants from various regions in India who participated very actively to make this webinar successful. Thank you all once again on the behalf of Department of Physics, Nevzaba Hitkarni College, Brahmapuri. Thank you very much. Now I requesting all the participants to stood up for the national anthem.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Tembre sir, and thank you very much, Abhay Deshmukh sir. Physics department.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks a lot. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Very nice. Very nice.